All right, everybody. Hey, guys, welcome back. Welcome back. So, we're now moving into part 13. Part 12A, we began the actual build of the virtual machine in the Azure console. Part B of part 12, we finished up and actually created the virtual machine. And now in part 13, we're going to go ahead and take a look at that virtual machine. Let's see the aspects of that virtual machine, the metadata associated with that virtual machine, and then we're going to go ahead and connect to the virtual machine using RDP, and we'll take a look around. All right, so we're still in the console. Nothing has changed, except maybe you notice right in the middle now, under Resources, if we go to See All, you will see that I have a YouTube server that I created in a resource group called YouTube Group, right? Remember, we did all of that. So I'm going to go over to the YouTube server. I'm just going to click the hyperlink to go to the YouTube server, which is the virtual machine. And now what you're seeing, guys, is all of the metadata that makes up that virtual machine. And then on the left-hand side, everything that we can do with the virtual machine itself. So let's take a look at how this thing is broken down. Let's take a look at the top line up here on the top. It says connect start, which is grayed out. Why? Because it's already started. We have restart, right? So if I want to reboot the virtual machine because I made a change to it, now I need to reboot it, I can do that. Stop does exactly what it says. It turns the virtual machine off. Capture actually creates a snapshot of my virtual machine so I can use it in the event of maybe I need to roll this virtual machine back. So let me give you an example. Let's say I go and I configure a bunch of stuff on the virtual machine now. And lo and behold, I messed something up. I modified the registry. I don't know exactly what I did. And I have a previous point in time snapshot of this virtual machine. Well, I can roll it back to that previous point in time, which would not contain any of the problems that I caused when I modified the VM. So the moral of that story is, if you're going to be doing any real advanced work to a system, create a snapshot real quick. Capture that virtual machine to an image. Then, if something goes wrong, you can always recover from that. I can delete the VM if I want to, refresh it. I can open it up on a mobile device to see how it performs. I can provide feedback to Microsoft for something that I found. And if I want to manage it with a command line or PowerShell, I can do that right from here. The next section is known as the essentials. It's like the important information about that virtual machine, like the resource group that the virtual machine is a member of, the status of the VM. Notice it says it's running. The location, the west coast of the US, Western US region. If you remember in the previous part 12B, part 12A, I chose the Western US region. It shows my subscription that's associated with this virtual system that I created, much like your electric bill, your account that you set up. There's my subscription ID. There is no health state here because it hasn't been up and running long enough. Basically what happens is Microsoft will manage providing you information, I should say, about the state of your virtual machines, whether they're healthy or not, and you'll have that information posted there. And by the way, you can also create your own actionable insights that will give yourself the health state of your virtual systems. We then have the tags that are associated with this server. If you remember in part B of module or part 12B, I chose YouTube servers as my tags, and I can search my bill for any financial information that is tied to this particular server. There's the operating system up top on the right. The VM availability status, this thing is available right now. I can click to it if I want to. It shows the size. This is a standard DS1 V2. which means it has one virtual CPU and 3.5 gigs of memories. Hey, look, there is the public IP address that is associated with this particular server. Now, you could always choose copy to clipboard if you want. So if I want to have that address or whatever, by the way, the addresses do change. By default, your public IP address will change if you reboot the VM. Now, you can pay extra for a static public address, but you pay a lot more money for that. But if you need a static address to never change, maybe you're going to manage your own DNS or whatever it is, you can certainly do that. You'll have to contact Azure Technical Support, provide them your subscription information, and tell them that's what you want. Provide a business case for why you want that, because let's face it, public IPv4 addresses are the unicorns in our business, right? There's not a lot of them left. And notice the DNS name. Excuse me. The DNS name is not configured. I can go in there and configure a DNS name for this particular system. I want it to resolve YouTube server.mycompany.com. I want it to resolve to the public IP address. And then down below, we have even more information, more, I guess you would say, more detailed information, right? The name, the operating system, the image publisher, which is Microsoft Windows Server, the image itself, the version, the VM generation. This is a V2 generated, or rather a second generation VM. It's a 64-bit architecture. It's all ready. The agent version, the availability settings, if I had any, which I don't. I don't have scaling. I didn't put it in an availability zone. Remember? Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3. I didn't do any of that. Basic security. Here's my networking settings. Again, there's the public IP address, and there's my private IP address, 10.0.0.4. So all of my other VMs would be able to communicate with this VM if they're on that 10.0.0.0/8 network. You'll see that there. The size, the disk, auto shutdown rules. Remember, I did create that. So you'll see it is enabled, and it's scheduled to shut down every day at 9 o'clock p.m., right? All of that information is there. Now, if we look on the left-hand side, this is where we can begin to start managing our VM. Right? So, for instance, if I click Settings, Networking, I will see the specific settings for this VM under Networking. Okay, the network interface, again, there's your public IP, there's your private IP. Notice I don't have any inbound and outbound port rules because I don't have any network security group associated with that. That's going to be the next video that I'm going to do. I'm going to create a network security group, and we're going to link it to this server. In essence, I'm creating firewall rules for inbound and outbound traffic to my YouTube server. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that in the next part 14. This is part 13. Part 14, the next one that I do, I'll show you all of that in there. Right? We have operations. How do I want to handle everyday kind of functions on or against, kind of like maintenance functions? Well, here's backup. If I click backup, I can set up backups of this particular virtual machine. I would have to create what's known as a recovery services vault. That is a piece of storage where your backup will live. That's all it is. Right? If I create a backup of a system, I got to put it somewhere. Where do I put it? In a recovery services vault. I'd have to create a new one. You're going to see videos on all of this coming up in additional parts. Maybe part 14. We'll see. Updates. How do you want to handle Windows updates? Remember, you had some of this during the wizard, but now I'm going in and showing you where you can go configure these things. Guest OS updates. Now, what's the Guest OS? That is Windows 2019 Data Center Edition. That's the operating system of the VM that I created. It is known as the Guest OS. Go to updates using Update Management Console or Automation. Automation simply means that I can use Azure automated processes to push updates to all of my virtual machines, or I can do it all myself manually. That is up to you how you want to handle that. We have monitoring down below. We have automation, so I can go into tasks and what do I want to automate on this particular system. Do I want to automate an increase in hardware? It's a little bit slow out there today as I'm creating this video, but I can go in and schedule a task or get notified of changes and take automation action. So I can go to add task, and I could go through and select a template, start a virtual machine, deallocate it, power it off, send monthly costs for resource. These are different tasks that I can automate. For instance, I want to know when this virtual machine is costing me $525. Whenever that is, boom, I'm going to shut down that virtual machine and I'm going to send a notification that, hey, we've reached this cost limit, if you will. Okay, do I want to start the virtual machine at a specific time of day? Right? I shut it down at 9. Do I want to start it at a specific time? I can certainly go ahead and set this up, right? I can do all of these types of things directly from here. So this is really where you'll find your day in and day out processes that you can manage, right? Your disks. If I click disks, it's going to take you to your disks. You'll know here's your OS disk. Here is the data disk that I created. Remember, that's a premium solid state, a terabyte in size, 5,000 IOPS. Notice the big difference here, guys, and this is why you pay more money for this. I don't know if you're noticing right here under the OS disk, max IOPS 500 with max throughput 60. And now notice down here, max IOPS of a premium solid state is 5,000, not 500, 5,000 with your max throughput in megabits per second, right? That's how we always measure throughput on disks is megabytes per second, 200. Big difference between the two, isn't it? Okay, big difference. But anyway, there's your disks. Now, if I want to connect to this VM, how do I connect? Well, if I'm on the overview screen, which is the main screen, right? I'm on the overview screen. Look up top. It says connect. I can do that. Or on the menu on the left-hand side, right here, it says connect. Doesn't matter how you do it. You'll click connect. Now, I only have RDP. If you remember in part A, of part 12, when I built the VM and I was going through the wizard, I left port 3389 available. We had HTTP, HTTPS, SSH, and the remote desktop protocol RDP. Those were your 4 options. I chose RDP. It was actually the default. That's what I kept. Okay, well, I want to use it now. So you'll simply go ahead and choose select. And on the left-hand side, it will open up and give you the information about the virtual machine and how to go about and connect to it. So I can choose, for instance, download the RDP file, which I just did, and here it is. It's in my browser now in the downloads section. I went ahead and clicked on it, and it opened up on another monitor, so let me drag it in here. And notice it says the publisher of this remote connection can't be identified. Do you want to connect anyway? You're going to get 2 errors. Or not errors, you're going to get 2 warnings. One is going to warn you that, hey, we don't trust this connection. Are you sure you want to do this? Well, yeah, I do. I want to go ahead and connect to this, right? And then we should, if things are working properly, we'll have to see here. It doesn't look like that it's working properly here. And you can see right up here, I have an issue. And now we're going to get this second remote desktop error. So these are the 2 initial errors that you're going to get. It says remote desktop can't connect to the remote computer for one of these reasons. Remote access to the server is not enabled. The remote computer is turned off. The remote computer is not available on the network, etc. Well, what are we going to do to be able to fix this problem? Let me go ahead and click OK. We're going to go up top to the search bar, and I'm going to look at the word network, and I'm going to go to a network security group right here, network security groups. Okay, now I don't have a network security group. What is a network security group? It's a way for us to filter inbound traffic to and outbound traffic from your virtual machine. I'm going to choose create. We're going to create a network security group in my main subscription, and we'll go ahead and I'll name it YouTube group since it already has the name there. Right, the instance details, I will name it, let's see, YouTube NSG. And the region is in the Western US, which is great. I'm going to go to review and create. It's going to give you the validation. Look, it says it passed. You're ready to go. And I'm going to go ahead and choose create. And now on the right hand side, notice under the bell, we're creating it, and it was just successfully created. Well, no, actually, it's still going through in progress. Well, now it says deployment succeeded. I can choose go to the resource. Well, I'm now on the actual resource of this system. Well, let's go ahead and play around with this, and let's add some inbound and outbound rules. On the left-hand side under settings right here, it says inbound security rules. I'm going to choose add any source port ranges, any destination, any IP, and we're going to say destination port 3389. Okay, 3389 TCP, we're going to allow it. Notice it says, wait a minute, RDP is exposed to the internet. We're going to choose add. Now I'm creating the rule. And then I'm going to go to outbound rules. And we're going to go in and create a new outbound any destination port 3389. And we'll choose add. So I've created a network security rule for what? For port 3389, the remote desktop protocol. So I have inbound security rules and outbound security rules. Now I'm going to go to network interfaces because I need to link this or associate it to a network interface. So I'll go up here to associate, and then it's going to say, hey, what network interface do you want this firewall attached to? Well, I want it attached to YouTube server, and we're going to choose OK. And now it's connecting that to my YouTube server virtual system. Give it a few seconds here, and it will do that for us. Then we can try to go back and see what happens now when we connect, hopefully, to the virtual machine. So we'll give it a second. Network interface is now saved. YouTube server, the IP address, the private IP address, all of that is good. So now we'll go over to our virtual machines, right? Let's go to our YouTube server VM. Let's go to connect. And we're going to select the RDP connection here. And we'll download it. And let's see what happens on this side of things. Again, it's going to open up here. We're going to choose connect. And here it is popping up. And look at the difference here. Wait 1 second. It popped up on my other computer. What are we doing here, guys? Well, you guys can't see what's going on here. What just happened here? Hold on. Guys, my RDP just locked up here on my machine. I'm not sure what is going on here. Interesting. Control-Alt-Delete. Give me just a second if you can hear me. Give me, there we go. Want to get rid of that. Bear with me just a second. I'm ending a task. Something weird happened, guys. All right, let's download this RDP file one more time and open it up. And now I'm going to bring it in. All right, we're going to click connect. Now let's try this one more time. Hey, it worked. All right, I don't know what happened there, but we're going to choose more choices. And I'm going to log on with a different account here. And all right, and we'll go ahead and choose OK. Now you'll get your second error, which is basically saying, hey, we don't trust this certificate of this virtual machine. Now, we know this is fine. It's my virtual machine. You're always going to get these two errors unless you set up certificates and all that ahead of time, which I didn't do. We're going to go ahead and choose next. And now, bear with me, I'm going to drag in, guess what? Here is the virtual desktop of this virtual machine that I just created. So basically what you saw happen was I did not on purpose build the virtual machine with the appropriate firewall rules. So the virtual machine was doing exactly what the virtual machine should have done. It should have blocked all incoming connections, which it did. Until I went back and created a new network security group, which I did. And I linked it to the YouTube server's IP address, or network interface, I should say. And now I have connectivity to this VM. You're seeing it. This VM is out on the internet somewhere. And obviously, guys, I can manage this like any other virtual machine. I can go in and you'll see you're at Server Manager right now. I can go into the Admin Center and manage anything I want. I can now build my FTP server. I go up to Tools and you can see all of the roles that are installed and features that are installed on this server. I can go and click Add Roles and Features. Let's just continue and make it an FTP server. We'll go to Next. We're going to install a role. Guys, I'm going to be doing server management videos and all of that coming up in the future. Again, I can't stress it enough. Subscribe so you'll get notifications to all the videos I'm going to do. We're going to choose role. I'm doing this quickly, obviously, guys. This is not the gist of the video. We're going to go ahead and choose next, next, next. And then, of course, we can go down and make this a web server. IIS web server. We'll go ahead and we'll do that. We'll choose next. Do I want to enable anything else? Well, now everything I need is all going to be inside of IIS. I'm going to go ahead and choose next and next. And we're going to go ahead and choose next and install. And now I'm installing the Internet Information Services web server on my virtual machine. So there you go, guys. Very, very detailed to get this thing up and running, but once you're used to doing it, you can get these things up and running very quickly. And again, there is no difference in looking at this machine than if you were logged on to this as a physical machine somewhere, when obviously it's not. It is a virtual server, I get it, but the look, the feel is the same. The only way you actually know that you're looking at a virtual server right there is the tab up here, this blue tab. That is the telltale sign that you are on a VM. And if I choose the X option to close it, notice it says your remote session will be disconnected. And I'll go ahead and I'll choose OK. I've now disconnected from this virtual machine. And of course, we know it's going to shut down at 9 o'clock. In the evening, and then tomorrow I will start it again if need be, right? Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this 3-part demo series on building a virtual machine. We're going to see a lot more of this kind of stuff. We're now heavily into the demo portion of this cloud class. So when we get back, our next part, we're going to go and dive in a little bit more into maybe creating applications and hosting applications in the cloud, right? We'll talk about that. Maybe we'll do container apps or something along those lines. Do me a favor, guys, subscribe so you'll know when all the new videos come out. Leave me some comments, right? I really appreciate your time. I know you got a lot of other stuff to do in your life, and the fact that you got to the end of this video, man, that makes me feel really good. I really appreciate all of your help. Guys, I will see you on the flip side in another video coming shortly.